You are now listening to the Inner Circle Podcast Network.
Never die. 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 Never die.
Fuck you.
All right, it is 11 o'clock a.m. And before we get into today's podcast, I'd like to thank Jon Andersen's Thrive Body Transformation Program. Look, if you're trying to lose weight, get in shape, get your shit right on point. I'm talking about you want to learn how to eat, what to eat, how to eat, the times to eat, how to structure your life around a diet. Well, you can easily do this with Jon Andersen's Thrive Body Transformation Program. Look, you don't need to be an athlete. You can just be a regular person trying to dial it in correctly. You can easily do that, like I said, with Jon Andersen's Thrive Body Transformation Program. Just mention the Angry Dad, and he'll take care of you. CH Concrete, serving the San Francisco Bay Area. That is CH Concrete, serving the San Francisco Bay Area. No job too big, no job too small. Residential, commercial, it doesn't matter. CH Concrete can help you. Just mention the Angry Dad, and they'll take care of you. Vitable is a supplement company that takes vitamins, put them in individual customizable packs for yourself. And you know what? I take vitamins. I take C, D, B12, B complex, super B complex. I take calcium, magnesium, zinc, and you know what? I have to buy them all, package them together, and it fucking, you know what? I can easily do that with Vitable, because with 50% off your first order at Vitable, get a customizable pack dialed to what you want at 50% off at Vitable.com. Just use code AngryDad50 at checkout and get hooked the fuck up. Also, too, Death Wish Coffee, twice the caffeine, 1 cup for a pre-workout, black coffee, and you're good to go. Use code AngryDad at checkout at deathwishcoffee.com. And Official is a hip-hop inspired street brand coming from Tucson, Arizona. Hip-hop inspired. I'm talking about they take old school, make it new school, and they fucking tie it up nicely. And you can use Angry Dad at checkout and get 25% off your first order at official.com. Link is in the notes. And you know what? I have this is an audio narrator, award-winning. It is something that, you know, I didn't know was like, you know, we all know people do audiobooks, but the thing is I'm bringing in this guy, Sean, and he suggested a book to me. We're internet friends, and I consider ourselves internet friends because we go back and forth. He likes my stuff, I like his stuff, and you know what? I was like, you know, I want a book. I need to listen to a book, and he recommended Wishmaster to me. And I've watched the movies, and I kind of thought maybe it was going to be the same, but it wasn't. It was this beautifully read book that I listened to that took me into a dimension that I just didn't know I was going to slip into. And he read it so well that my youngest son asked me to turn it off. And that let me know that I was really, because like it made me cringe at certain parts. And I was like, God fucking damn, he just nailed it right. And you know what? Sean is joining me here, and we're going to talk about what he does.
What's up?
Sean, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And, you know, I just, you know, I know I build it up sometimes so much, but the thing is like, you know, like we've known of each other for quite a bit because, you know, we've been on Instagram for, years now, it feels like.
It's insane to think of it that way.
Yeah.
Even Twitter. It's like, has Twitter been around that long? Yes, it has. I'm fucking old.
It is what it is. But, you know, and that's the thing is like, you know, one thing I love about doing my show is I'm always trying to inspire people to understand there's different avenues of careers, because like the majority of people that listen to my podcast, you know, we're warehouse workers, truck drivers. We have blue collar jobs that a lot of us, you know, we just do them because it's what we can do. It's what we know to do. But when you get somebody who has a completely different career path, it just draws my eye, because I'm just like, what inspired you to want to just like slip into this lane?
Well, I mean, it's funny because this is a side gig for me. So, I mean, and I think that's the thing that has allowed me to not curl up in a ball and full of anxiety and stop doing this, because when you go into kind of the arts for a career, it is a lot of sacrifice, and it's something that deterred me when I was younger to really go into it, because I went to college for broadcast radio and for television broadcast, and the time I got out of college, I uh, the marketplace was changing. The job availability was changing because Clear Channel was buying up every single radio station that they could. There was no podcasting. The only way you can think about having any sort of multimedia job was working for a company, and they would employ you to do their stuff. So, I found jobs, and my career path has been pretty crazy. I did audio production for a while for like on hold messages. I found myself touring with a band, doing like video for the documentary stuff. I mean, everything for them. It was like selling their merch, like setting up the stage. And then I got married and settled in Southern California, and then I got a job doing working for a public utility in the area. So I still do that. I've been kind of going back and forth with that, but my passion has always been recorded audio. I've as soon as I heard about podcasts, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm doing a podcast." So I've been doing podcasts since they started being a thing, just for fun. And then as I slowly started going and getting into it, doing more and more podcasts, getting more comfortable with production and stuff like that. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you should think about narrating audiobooks." And I'm like, how do I even do that? Because have been interested in looking at like possibly doing voiceover work as a side gig, but that is so much more competitive than I even could even prepare myself for. So um, I was like, well, I can do these to they're longer projects. I can kind of space them out and schedule them and things like that. So yeah, just kind of by fate, I just tried it, and people keep hiring me to record their books. So, it's working. So, I mean, but I had to build a booth. It was a lot more than I thought going in. I was like, because audio podcasting is different. There's some ambient noises and everything, but it's a podcast.
Yeah.
It's casual. But this was like I had to deliver like quiet studio quality audio, and so
Yeah, no, it's
it's a big,
definitely
yeah.
definitely it. Because like even with me, podcasting is something that kind of was never in my peripheral. I had a friend who did podcasting, and and they have a show. And then they're like, "Oh, just check us out." I'm always about supporting those in my community, and if all I got to do is give a like or a share or even just a listen,
Mhm.
of course I'm gonna do that because it's free to do. But the thing is I would listen to their podcast, and all after a while I would have this dynamic of like I feel like I'm in the conversation,
Yeah.
and being in that conversation really drew me in. And so then I started discovering other podcasting and other shows, Joe Rogan, all the the mainstream that wasn't mainstream at that moment in time, because we're talking about like 5 years ago, damn near, when this really started.
Yeah.
And they convinced me to do a podcast. It was like, look, you're motivational, you do all these crazy things, and I feel you could do a podcast. And he hounded me for about a year before I even committed to even downloading the app to start podcasting. And so, and I, mine's, if you go back to my first episodes, they're so rough and they're so choppy and they're so like, like I don't, because I'm a typical, man's man, where I can't, like before I never did it, never worked on a computer, never used a computer, always refused to touch a computer because I'm like, I don't need this shit, and then all of a sudden, I come to find out like, like I can't do any of that because I can't do it. I was like, no, just press record here, it uploads, and then end a conversation. I was like, all
Mhm.
right. And then I'd take two phones, one to record the video, one to record the audio, because I didn't know that you could rip the two apart. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like and eventually, developed into this whole show that I do. And then just like how you're talking about, like as a side gig, my show translated into me stepping into freelance podcasting as a producer. And it's like, okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I did not see that coming.
Well, the cool thing about all this kind of stuff is, it all builds. Everything you do kind of will build to the next step. And as awful as my first few audiobooks were, um, I learned and made connections through those. And then now it's like, now I'm seeing myself, there's a path happening here that is almost out of my control now. It's just, I can't stop now. It's like I'm compelled that I got to keep going. I got to stop saying no to everything because there's no way I can record as many books as the full-time guys can do, because some of these guys, they're knocking out one book a week almost.
Yeah.
It's insane, and I'm like, "How do you guys do that?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, they're reading every day, all day, so they kinda get in the flow."
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I wake up early in the morning, I gotta get in that flow, and I post some of my work sessions
Oh, I
on
see
YouTube
them.
and stuff, and you have in your mind of, like, someone just reading the book to you perfectly, and there are narrators that for extended amount of time, they've been doing this long enough where they can. I'm not there yet, and sometimes I'm like, how do sometimes it's like, "Am I gonna get a paragraph recorded today?" Because it's like my mouth just doesn't work sometimes, so, it's definitely been a fun process, but like I said, it's everything that I do just opens things up more and more. It's been pretty incredible to kinda jump into this, from kind of where I was at because, like I said, I did my first audiobook, and I was like, "Okay, the room I'm in isn't working." I know enough about engineering, I was able to get it,
Yeah, decent.
okay. And then started recording another full novel, and I was like, "Oh, this is like a full novel," because the first one was like a novella,
Yeah.
and, I was like, I
It's a
really need
Mexican
to."
soap opera for those who aren't understanding.
Yeah. And I was just like, "This isn't working," so I halted everything, and I was like, "I need to build myself the booth," and I mean, you say you're a man's man,
Yeah, see,
you know,
I can build the booth and get it all
I should've
set,
called
dialed
you.
in, soundproofed. You know what I'm saying? That's my spectrum there.
So, I'm like, I mean, I'm okay with I'm handy with tools, I can fix the car if I have to, right? It's not something I kinda jump into, and I was like, I really pushed myself out of my comfort zone, I hours and hours of YouTube videos, looking at plans, kind of reverse engineering other people's booths, researching the cost of a book pre-built, which was insane,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Well, I gotta do this myself." Got all the lumber, I planned it out on AutoCAD, I got a construction guy who looks over plans to kind of look it over, make sure I
yeah.
was on the right track, and I fucking did it, man. And it turned out pretty awesome, so but man, I mean, I was out there in the garage, like, sawdust everywhere, my
Yeah,
wife's going
the biggest
crazy.
mess in the world.
Yeah, and it probably, uh, new respect for people who, build houses and stuff, because this is just this one little thing was taxing enough for me, so,
And see,
um
that's the funny thing is like, I've said it quite a few times because once I started doing podcast freelancing as a producer, I now have new profound respect for those who can sit in front of a computer for hours on end because I got a 4 hour limit where I'm like, all right, I gotta just walk away and then
yeah.
like not just take a break. I gotta literally like, no more. I can't. My back hurts me. My eyes hurt me. My brain hurts me. And you could see the physical steam coming out of my ears. And that's the respect I have for people that are like can actually do what they're doing in front of a computer. Because like my wife works on a computer all day long. That's just what
Yeah.
her job is. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and she's like, "Oh, I'm tired." I'm like, "From what?" And now I'm like, "No, I get it now."
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty insane. I mean, the one, like, silver lining of COVID was that I built a home gym, and I started running again, and, so now if I get tired on the computer, as long as my deadlines are all good, I'll be like, "You know what? It's time for me to go in the gym." So I head
Yep.
over to the gym, do that, come back, "Okay, I've been doing something else." So working from home has been a huge silver lining the past couple years. So I'm dreading when the day job wants me to go back to the office because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in the flow, man. My productivity is good, and I'm able to kinda do things. I'm able to, on my lunch break, have a
Yeah.
chat with, on a podcast. I can't do all that, back at the
Oh yeah,
office, so
yeah. You can't do that in the office. That is the crazy thing because like I said, same thing with COVID. I'm home and I told myself, well, with all this extra time home, there's no commuting, there's no driving, there's no preparing stuff or getting ready for the next day. I can literally just get up. And that's when I was like, I'm putting more emphasis on my podcast because, you know, when I was working, I had a schedule and a routine, 3 podcasts a week, and they're real short, real quick, unless, you know, like how we're doing right now. You know, I like to have these conversations, and they usually last about an hour. But with that, I'm like, okay, I can actually be a little more into social media, more into networking, more into, and so like just like you said, the productivity's there. So you gotta capitalize while you can.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But it was tough, man. I mean, speaking of the productivity, the COVID years, I was thinking at that time, I was like, well, I could probably get a lot more done, and I took on some more audiobook projects, and what I realized pretty quickly with everyone being home, even with the booth, it was just a lot harder for that productivity. So my productivity for the day job was up through the roof because I just work better this way. Um, but the taxing of like the news cycle, just the kids being home all day for school, all that was like a huge like mental like fatigue on me. And I gained like 30 pounds in 2020, and I got way less done, and I had a few, like, hiccups with relationships with an author,
Yeah.
and those audiobooks got taken out because I was like, "Find someone else,"
Yep.
you know? But it was like we were all stressed, I can't, looking back, you can't just, like, blame anybody. It's like 2020 was a shit show.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely
Um,
was a shit show.
so I'm kinda getting my momentum back, and but it's funny because, the memes you post and everything and about and your journey because 'cause you're getting back into lifting and eating better and all that kinda
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
I was like, I had to do that or else I was gonna spiral just out of control and, like, mentally. It wasn't even like, "I'm gonna get some awesome guns and good to fight my pecs." It was like, I need to put my hand to something to just clear the head, and then, so here
Yeah,
we
no,
are,
that's definitely it. Cause like 2020 was a shit show because like 29, the last bit of 2019, COVID started, 2020 hit, and it just disrupted everyone's flow, everyone's schedules, everyone's progress. And it's like, what do? You know what I'm saying? Because we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything, you can't go shopping, and so it definitely put everyone in this position where you're just like, we can't do shit. So what can we do? And then
Yeah,
plus the price of inflation on everything, because like if you were not in the middle of 2020, about the summertime, if you're trying to buy gym equipment, it was non-existent, 10 times the price.
yep,
Everyone's doing that exact thing. And I had the foresight in 2019, like, okay, if this is shutting down, this is going to shut down. And so I literally bought as much gear as I could, and literally, like just like you said, built a home gym. I went completely balls to the walls and did that, and made enough
yep,
relationships with people selling that resell equipment that were like, oh, okay, no, you paid the standard price. You ain't gonna pay this over bloated price because you already showed you're a great customer and a person
yep.
that's willing to pay for what things are worth. And so, but also too, I'm not gonna say I was nice about the situation too, because extra stuff that I had, I'm like, well, this is just what the price is, and like I didn't make a lot of money, but
Yeah.
I made a little bit of my money back with stuff that I got rid of. You know,
Do what you gotta do, man.
Exactly. And then the same thing with eating, because like going out to eat, because we weren't going out to eat anymore. You're door dashing home,
Yeah,
Instacart and instant gratification. So you're not really like, even when I go grocery shopping, it's strategic. I'm like, I'm getting
yep.
exactly what I need. But when you shop online, it has this different perspective of ordering, because that sounds
Mhm.
good, that looks good, instead of when you go to the shop and you feel, I shouldn't eat this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 'cause you can just boop, and it's done, and it's on the way, but when you're out and about, it's like 'cause I'm the same way, so when I go grocery shopping, this is another grocery shopping hour with
Yeah.
but no, I have a list of things that we need, and same thing with, cooking dinners, but for I think for a year, man, we didn't we didn't cook. I don't know how we
Yeah.
afforded it. I have no idea how
Yeah,
we afforded
well,
it.
it's because it was affordable at that time until they inflated the freaking price. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but yeah. I mean, it's funny. Just this whole thing trying to get through this, and I almost that there was a while where I was like, I think I just need to stop with the audiobook narration. Because it was just so much was adding up, and just a couple just bad experiences kind of put me off. But I decided to keep on trucking, and then the Wishmaster came across my lap, and I have a relationship with the publisher, Apocalypse,
Yeah.
and I did a book called The Brain Eaters by Gary Brandner, who he wrote The Howling.
Okay. I'm definitely I'm going to put that on my little checklist to make sure I listen to next.
So The Brain Eaters was earlier, which is funny listening. Like I still am very proud of it, but as an artist, you're always
Yeah, no, trust me.
you're your
What
worst.
was I thinking?
Yeah. So, but that was my first gig with Apocalypse, and then me and Mark Allen Miller, who he has a history. He used to work for Clive Barker's publishing company, Seraphim,
Okay.
and he did a lot of stuff for Clive Barker, and then eventually went on his own after having a kid. And he was like, he wanted to do his own thing and kind of get away from the rat race of all that stuff. So anyway, him and I hit it off very well, and now I'm basically helping them cast their library of audiobooks that need to be recorded because there's no way I can do them all.
Yeah.
I'm helping them cast. I'm helping sign new authors. It's crazy. Yeah, and just doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So him and I work very well together.
That's good.
So Wishmaster came across my lap, and he goes, "Hey, I know you have a lot on your plate, but would you like to narrate the Wishmaster novelization?" And I'm like, "Yes, bring it away. I'll start immediately." He introduced me to Peter Atkins, who wrote Wishmaster, and then Christian Francis, who was the author of the novelization.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, was this written before?" And he's like, "No, we literally created the novelization. Like, it's new. It's based off the screenplay, and there's never been a novelization before, and we have more like this on the way that we're doing." So I was like, "Yes, of course." So I kind of fit it into my schedule, pushed some things out of the way, and got that one done. And man, recording that one was a blast because I had my voodoo up in my booth here. So I got the movie right there to kind of play through the scene if I'm working on it. but I didn't want to like just, redo the movie. I do
Yeah.
some vocal things here and there to kind of based off certain characters. But for me and the novelizations that I've listened to and the ones that I've read, especially, which is why I liked this one, it goes off from the film. It adds something new to be experienced, and it operates completely on its own as a novel first,
Yes.
and as opposed to like the cliff notes of a movie. So that was a challenge because I didn't Andrew Divoff played the Djinn, and I was like, I'm not Andrew Divoff.
Yeah.
He's has a distinct voice, distinct delivery, but I kind of took his mannerisms and kind of like played with it to make my own version of it, which so far I've gotten pretty good reviews on. No one's I mean, this is probably one of my best reviewed audiobooks, to be honest.
Well,
Everybody's
I
kinda
wrote a
fired on all
review for it
cylinders.
too, and it's the thing is like I've watched the Wishmaster series, and just listening to this book, I was like, this is completely separate from what it almost felt like. It was a different version. It wasn't the movie. It was like, just like you said, it's its own thing, and just the way it read, the way it was, is like you're it was so broke down that I can visually watch this movie in my head as it was happening.
Yeah.
And then like even the Great Hall scene and how everything got twisted and how everything was just, and the way you did your voice to play the Wishmaster. Like I said, my youngest son is 10, and he's listening to this book. We do a lot of driving here.
Yeah.
And so this was like dusk time, and I'm like, you're getting to that Great Hall part, and he's just like, "Dad, turn this off." And I'm like, "All right," because like the snarl in the voice was just so like just so profound that like it like you could see like even a couple of times when you can hear you describing the deformities of what he would do to people,
Yeah.
You could almost get that chill and that little, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And I try to do that, especially with the horror, and that's been a fine line with all that stuff because, you know, you don't want to like over exaggerate everything when you're reading it. But then again, you don't want to be like just, and his head got torn off.
Yeah.
You got to be like, and his head got torn off. So like I literally, that's how
Yeah.
I'll act in it, like, holy shit, his head got torn off. So like there's certain things you can do, and that's one of the things that I kind of learned through some coaching and kind of just doing this is, and a well-written book too.
Yeah.
The author plays a huge part in like my delivery for sure, because you can kind of go along with it and kind of rise and fall with all the crazy stuff going on. Be more, just narrating and laid back on certain areas, but then get into it. So, and I think that's why I love horror the most, because I've done like dark fantasy and I've done some science fiction. And those are fun, but horror is just so off the rails, and
Yeah.
anything goes. Like in science fiction, there's rules, and there's world building and all that. In fantasy, world building, ton of characters. It's just and then you're gonna have like these arcs go into like book after book after book. Horror, especially, is so self-contained, and the whole goal is to kind of keep you guessing, and I think I like that flow the most with horror literature, which is kind of what I'm making that like, and it's always been kind of like my main thing, but I'm really kind of leaning into it. I mean, I just got an offer to do a book called Snow Shark, which I'm like, yes. So I mean, so going forward, you'll see a lot more kind of crazy stuff. But I mean, my last 3 books have been pretty crazy. I did a book called Extinction Peak,
Yeah.
which is about those, because there was Topps cards, like Mars Attacks Topps cards, right?
Yeah.
And then they did Dinosaurs Attack cards, and those are crazy. And so the author Lucas Mangum was like, well, what if like these Topps cards were a book? And he's this splatterpunk author who I love his writing. He writes very short books, but there's like so much. He's packed so much into them. So that's just a crazy dinosaur apocalyptic like book. Crazy. I mean, the story's insane. And then I just finished up. It just came out today. Is Killer Flies.
Yeah, I just
This
saw
is
you
a
post that this
Yeah,
morning.
it's a book from 1983, and so it has all the trappings of and the problems of early 80s
Yeah.
horror
Yeah. Because,
fiction.
yeah.
There's some slight racism and sexism weaved in, which is that's just the lurid paperbacks. They all had that in
Yeah,
it,
but
and it was like,
it's what made it that decade in that era. You know what I'm saying? It's what made those movies because, like I said, horror has its own lane where it meets this certain misogyny and like and indifference between people. Because if you
mhm,
don't have that friction there, it's you're just reading an everyday book.
yeah. What's funny about this one, about Killer Flies especially, is I actually helped track down the author and helped kind of bring it back into being published. It was kind of lost, out of print since the 80s. The original paperback copies from Signet were going for like 400 to 500 bucks on eBay.
Damn.
I had a connection with a guy who slings books that he finds. He had a couple beat up copies, and I go, hey, can you hold these for me? I'm trying to track down the author and the rights. It turns out the author Melinda Snodgrass, she's wrote screenplays for Star Trek, Next Generation. She got her start in kind of television screenwriting. She has her own kind of fantasy series right now, and she wrote it. Like, Mark Kendall was her pseudonym, and as soon as I found that out, I was like, what? And
That's crazy.
So I contacted her and I go, hey, I would love to narrate your Killer Flies book, and we'd love to republish it. And she's like, go for it. She's like, she goes, I wrote it in a month for rent money. I knew the guy who did Signet Publishing, and she goes, we wrote it. She actually goes, I wrote it, I got paid for it. I didn't even think about it once afterwards. So it's like it's nothing she does it. It's not on her bio. It's nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, so she's like, you guys can have it.
That's
So I was, okay, cool.
hilarious.
So we republished it, and and then I eventually did the audiobook. But yeah, I mean, like, it was funny talking to her about it, because she said, like, it starts with from the author. He goes, in the beginning of the book, it goes, for the gamers. Like, what?
Like, huh?
And then the author bio. Do I have the book still in here? I still have the book in here.
Okay, I got it.
The author bio, the original. So, but back to the story. So the guy who had this, so when you bring a book like this that's out of print back to publish, you have to destroy the book and scan it in.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You
And I'm
gotta
like,
take it
these
all
are going
apart.
for like $400, So I knew a guy, and he was a friend, just like friends give you. He gave me a deal.
Yeah,
I mean, it still wasn't cheap, but
yeah, but still better than
he.
the $400.
So I worked it out with the publisher. He paid for one version. I paid for one for myself. We got it republished.
Nice.
But yeah, anyway, so like it starts, and she goes, for the gamers, you know who you are, who taught me how to adventure. And that's like from the author, right?
Yeah.
And then his author bio, it says, and this stuff we didn't put in the audiobook, but it's hilarious. Mark Kendall was born in Cape Town, South Africa in 1942. He's a cultural anthropologist. Currently living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, he's a crack shot and an expert horseman who flew medical supplies to Biafra during the Nigerian Civil War.
Yeah.
So I asked Melinda, I go, what was up with that author bio? She goes, oh, me and the owner of Signet stayed up. We were up late kind of getting all this finalized, and we like a couple bottles of wine, and we wrote the author bio. Like she didn't care. Like she just wrote this, and my interpretation is that it's a spoof on, because it's a woman's writing it.
Yeah.
And it has all the misogyny, like a nurse is walking down after like one of the characters' kid has died and they're in the hospital. The main guy character is like watching a nurse's ass as she walks down the hallway. It's like, what the heck, man? And there's stuff like he smelled of bourbon and tobacco. She loved it. Like it aroused her. But you read this stuff, and that it's written by a woman. She for sure she was spoofing this genre.
Oh yeah,
she's making
big time.
fun. But but as the best kind of spoofs go, it's also inhabits that word. It's also one of the lyric paperbacks,
Yeah.
So and the people who love it, they're reading it. They don't know any better.
Yeah, not at all.
In hindsight, it's like the book's so funny.
Yeah.
I hope people get the humor as they listen to it, because I played it straight. And
yeah, so you're trying to play a
so
spoof with a
hard.
straight face, man.
Leslie Nielsen, man, that guy was the king of it.
Yeah, he
for
was.
movies. But so we'll see if it plays out. I mean, my editor, the owner of Encyclopocalypse was editing it, and I'd get text messages from him. It's like, dude, I cannot stop laughing. He goes, how did you do this with a straight face? I'm like, I don't know. I just narrated it. So anyway, extended plug for Killer Flies, which is out.
That's it. I'll put the link in the notes. No, I'll tell you right now. It's crazy because like when you get these passions, like one of my friends that got me into podcasting, his name's Brian. He does a podcast called the Terrible Terror Podcast, and it started out with him because he loves horrible horror movies.
Yeah.
So he would do these podcasts and he breaks them down and plays clips, and it's a fantastic podcast. If you ever just want to listen to a good podcast on horror movies, bad horror movies, good horror movies, because now he's spread the genre to like basically any horror movie that he likes now, because he's done all the bad ones in the beginning. And and I always had a love for horror movies, but it kind of subsided because I'm more into action movies where it's like late 80s, early 90s,
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven
Oh
Seagal, Dolph
yeah.
Lundgren, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's my lane when it comes to those kind of movies. But then he reinvigorated the horror genre for me again, because I grew up as a young kid in the 80s watching these, because my uncles were just messed up. They're like, no, we're gonna watch Nightmare on Elm Street. No, we're gonna watch, the Friday 13th and Halloween, and sit us down as kids, and they're on TV, we're watching them. You know what I'm saying? Didn't matter. That's just what it was. And so I always grew up watching them, but I always remember being forced to watch them. And then after listening to this podcast, it's really re-sparked that whole horror in me. And then just listening to Wishmaster, it actually sparked me into wanting to actually hear it, because we barely have time to sit down and read with just busy life, but I'm driving constantly. You know what I'm saying? I usually maybe about average an hour a day driving, just doing regular stuff for myself. And that's the time I get to enjoy that book. Like, I remember always listening to music, always listening to just all this stuff, and then podcasting. And then I'm like, you can only absorb so much podcast.
Yeah.
But then when the audiobook came, because even when I reached out to you, I was like, I just threw a comment. I was like, what's the best book you got right now? Because that's what I need. I need this different, the majority of most people, I would say, even when you're growing up, you always hear, The Art of War, Seven Rings. And so those are the basic audiobooks that people purchase. And of course, when I first got an iPhone, it's the first books I purchased. And so those were the only audiobooks that I ever listened to. And when I was like, no, I'm starting a collection, and that collection started off with your Wishmaster. And so now I'm starting to slowly dive into all these different audiobooks and stuff. So it's like, it was fun. That's why I reached out to you to see if you want to do the show, because it's like, you sparked this interest in me. Now let's talk about why this interested you, and then so getting that deep dive on hearing these things. Cause like I said, now it's a side hustle, and it's turning into something.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I love audiobooks, and there were at the time they were new to me too, because, just like you, I had done, podcasts and everything. And I'm a reader. Like I've always, from a very young age, I've always read, and there's always a book I'm trying to read. But the problem at the time was I would start a book and then just sit down and read it, and then get distracted with kids. I have 3 kids, and then the job, and just in life, marriage and everything. We just, as you get older and have all this, you don't have that time you used to just sit down and read a book. And that's always my preferred method of digesting, literature is through just a paperback or hardbound book. So I was commuting to the day job, and it was like an hour each way. So, I was listening to, podcasts and things like that. And yeah, podcasts are fun, but every day for a while, it's like, well, do I want to hear another guy dissect a movie? Well, I wanted to kind of stimulate my brain a little bit. And at the time, I was also deconstructing my faith. And so I was raised a Christian, and I was kind of deconstructing my belief systems, kind of rebuilding it in a sense. So I was starting to find there's these dense books, about the subjects that I wanted to read, but I couldn't sit down and read them. So that was almost the first, introduction to the audiobooks, because you look at your history in Audible, right? And all the first ones are these Bart Ehrman, about did Jesus really exist and things like that. I don't know the titles. And Seth Andrews, Deconverted. So I was listening to those, and was starting to digest all this information for that part of my life that I kind of needed to happen. And then I kind of got through all that, and I was like, well, what else is there? And then I, started finding well, what about 80s books that I haven't listened to or whatever? And I start tracking those down, and there's a few. And that's why as I started, considering becoming a narrator myself, I've get more and more and more to kind of as just a way to educate myself on how the narration's done, what's the cadence I should be striving for, and things like that. What's a good audiobook? What's a bad audiobook?
Yeah.
So that all started snowballing, and now my Audible list is insane, and I have too much there too. I can't figure.
That's definitely how it goes. It's just like it's just so crazy to hear because, like I said, it's just like it's like you take this deep dive and you're really enjoying it. And I'm gonna do I've mentioned this because I got a couple of friends that do radio, and they they do all these other podcasts like the Coffee Buzz. Brad Brumley, he's just like he went to school for audio engineer, was a DJ, great freaking voice. And, he does all the, those things. And then I have another friend, I can't, he does, I can't remember the name of the podcast. It'll come to me, but I had mentioned his book to him. This was like this psychological thriller that I listened to, and my grandma used to go to, and this is like in the early 90s, she would go to the library and rent cassette books.
Oh yeah.
All right. And so she had rented this cassette book. She's like, I think we'll like this one. It's like this sci-fi murder mystery. And it was about an author that had a kid that got his bone marrow switched out. And when his bone marrow got taken by this like a government ran process where they took the bone marrow DNA, cloned him on accident, and he was like a psyop killer where like he would get activated and then go kill, and then do the government's dirty work. And what it was is this guy, he had to live a life. He was, out in public until he got activated, but he'd always have this pull towards this place in this city. And then when he finally goes with the urge to do it, what ends up happening is he sees himself. He's like, he can see the person he was cloned from, but he doesn't know he's cloned. He's like, this person's taking over my life. This is my life. And it's like this crazy, like, just like the most insanest like thing I've ever heard. Never could figure out what it was though. Never could find the
man. I need to find that.
Let me tell you right now, it was the most craziest thing I've ever heard, because I'm like the person who's reading it was like really into it, because it's like it's jumping from like scene to scene, and like even the most craziest thing I can remember is the guy would eat sugar and candy to get calories to help heal his wounds to make himself stop bleeding because he was shot. And I'm like, what the hell am I fucking listening to here?
Yeah,
and it was like 7 cassettes.
Yeah, see those kind of books are my shit. Like, and that's what I love about fiction is like anything goes, and the horror fiction, even horror sci-fi, as bonkers as you can get it. Like that's what I want, and that's what I want to narrate, and that's the stuff I want to narrate, and I'm seeking out. Because what's awesome is like with this being a side gig, I can kind of pick and choose the stuff that I do. Money's fine. Money would be nice. Money would be
always
nice.
Is.
Most of my stuff that I do is kind of royalty split stuff. And if you're a professional narrator, you want to get away from the royalty split stuff and try to get the per finished hour pay that larger publishers will do. But I am looking for like the indie authors, the guys that are writing batshit stuff that's not going to get no huge publisher is going to pick it up. But that's the stuff that I really love, because it's just there's a difference when you go into mainstream fiction run by like the top 5 companies. There's like Simon & Schuster, Harper's Press. I don't even know them all. But the indie authors, it's almost anything goes, and that's the danger of that is fun. And like books like that, that's what I love about horror fiction, especially.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like sometimes you get these little things that like blip, and it like I said, it had that much of an impact where I remember it being a kid, and just like, and I must have been like maybe like 11, maybe 12 when I heard that. You know what I'm saying? It was like just some random one that my grandma picked out of a library. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's like, you have to return these cassettes after a certain amount of days.
That's awesome. That's what's so cool, I think, about media in general, like movies and books and stuff like that is, because I was drawn to all that stuff at a young age, and, like who I am today is a huge, is because of the books and movies and music that I listen to, and, so many people say that that stuff's not important, but it's like, no, it's like, for me, it's like, it's the thing, you
Yeah,
know?
no, no, it
Uh,
is. It is.
storytelling, right? All of it's storytelling, music, movies, books, comedians, all this stuff is telling story in just different, in new ways. And, and that's what's so great about it. Even podcasting, like we're telling stories here as we have a conversation. I think all that stuff is so important and, kind of taken for granted, I think, especially these days because everything is at our fingertips,
Oh yeah,
Netflix
everything.
and, like my kids don't know what it's like to go to a music store and browse through the cassettes and or CDs or records and, find that album you've been looking for so long that
Yeah,
you read about in some magazine a few years back. I mean, now
exactly.
it's just like instant gratification.
No, no, it definitely is. I was literally like before we even jumped on this podcast, I decided to rewatch the original Dragon Ball series and it's on an app. And I've told my kids this numerous times as they roll their eyes at me. I was like, I had to wait months per episode, and if I missed that episode, I didn't get to watch that episode again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's hilarious because, like I said, I had to physically like look at a newspaper, look at a TV guide. You know what I'm saying? Or even that scrolling screen when we had cable at that moment in time, and like wait to see exactly when it was going to come on so I can be ready and let everybody in the house know I got the TV at this time because we didn't
Yeah.
have multiple TVs, you know what I'm saying? And we were lucky we even had the channel.
And you can't pause it.
Yeah, there's no pause in it. You got to sit there the whole time.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean that sort of the discovery and that sort of thing is, to me that's why I'm kind of going this route with trying to find, these types of books and crazy stuff. I want to be the one introducing you to something crazy you haven't heard before. Like, I want people to look and be like, "Oh, Sean narrated this? Oh man, this has to be good." Like, or at least, even if it's not good, at least it's interesting and like something memorable, and
Exactly. Something
fun,
I've never heard before.
you know. Because Stephen King can only go so far. Like Stephen King's a great writer, but he's Stephen King. We've all read Stephen King,
Yep.
and I I I am all about. I mean, I do this myself, just finding the most obscure things to read and crazy, and that's what has always kind of floated my boat. When I was at the music stores, I'm looking for, obscure punk rock or local metal bands or whatever things that I would. And I remember I would always go to the clerk at the record store and be like, "What is there a local band that you really love, or some new things that like maybe, you know,
What's hitting the shelves that no one
that
knows?
exactly." And the same thing with movies, and I was perusing the VHS, shelves at the VHS at the rental place, and it's you have your, 20 copies of Time Cop, or whatever. And I'm looking for like, I don't know. I can't think of an
Oh
obscure
no, I'm
thing right
actually
now.
right now.
But
House. What was the other
yeah,
one? I'm trying to think of the other one. The Mangler.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like Army of Darkness, Evil Dead. They're like
all that stuff.
when the movie guy would see, because I would ride my bike to the local rental place, and you always had to have a parent with you to rent a movie. But I would be there so much that you'd like, no, I already know the account.
Dude, the same
Just
thing.
get,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
the same
Here's
thing
my
with mine.
pennies. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? It was 99 cents for this copy for the weekend.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember so
absolutely.
many times doing that.
Oh man, that was great. I mean, I remember. Yeah, I had the same kind of thing at our local place. We'd been there. I'd go there so much, and finally, I'd ride my bike, and at the time, I was living in rural Iowa, and I would ride my bike. We live like 2-3 miles out of town, and Saturday, I'd ride my bike in it. I'd make a whole trip out of it.
Yep, you have
Ride
to.
my bike into town, hit up the rental store, you know, then get my movie. All right, got my movie. I got my copy of Explorers. the Joe Dante sci-fi film.
Yep.
I watched that thing like crazy. Head over to the gas station, Casey's General Store. Grab my Skittles and my Reese's Pieces and a couple little bottles of Mountain Dew. Put on my backpack, get on my bike, and make the trek home. And then the rest of the day, then I have my movie night planned out. And that, I mean, man, being a dad of 3, it's like my kids just don't do that right
Oh,
anymore.
it is one of the things is like my kids always have this thing where they don't understand what it is to go somewhere to do something because like I'm going to the store. You guys want to go? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, you could not tell me no because I'd be in the car. Where are we going?
Where are we going?
Like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, I want to go to I just always remember like, oh, if I go to the store, I'm going to get something. Mm-hmm. It might be a small or, my mom would tell me like, no, you ain't getting nothing. We're just going. I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'm going for the ride. But to find something new, to eat something new, to have something different and just enjoying like the just like you said, that find, because like I used to do the same thing where I'd ride my bike. I go to the movie store, rent my movie, and then I used to stop at this place which it was called D&C Comics, and he had a special section where you can purchase individual cards for like pennies, and then he had dollar comics, and so I would scroll through them, and I was a big Punisher War Journal fan, so I'd go through all of them, and then every so often one would be in there, and I'd grab it and add it to my collection.
And that feeling, man.
Yeah,
that feeling when you find that thing.
Yep, and it's like, ooh, and it came with a slip. It's not just a plain book. It's got a cardboard. And the same thing with like comic cards. I used to collect all the Marvel comic cards, and it's just like just like you said, it's just like you get in there finding it, and then the kids, they don't have access to that because everything's they can literally pick up their phone, Google it. Oh, it's streaming here. I'll watch it here. Like the kids, my son just went to go watch Sonic, but typically if it's a movie he wants to see, it's like, oh, I can watch it on this website and just stream it to my TV, and I'm like, that's not the same. I want popcorn. I want a soda. I want to sit down and I want to get immersed. And they're like, no, I can just watch it here and play with my phone. I'm like, that's not the same.
That's funny. I mean, that's what I do when I'm searching for audiobooks to narrate and stuff like that too. I want my narrations to be discovery. I mean, a lot of narrators, they want to get under the wing of a big 5 company and get on that payroll, man. Yeah. I mean, which is great. I mean, if that's your livelihood, that's awesome. You deserve that. I have a pretty good day gig right now. Whereas if this took off, I would have to make a decision like, do I forego a pension and health insurance and stuff or what? So
exactly.
So my path is very, very, very different from anyone else kind of searching for this type of like career. My path is more of like, I want it to be fun. I was chasing the money thing for a while and kind of learned a lesson that I want this to be fun. Yeah. This can't be an added stress to my day or my year. But the sense of discovery that we're talking about, like that's what I want to bring. Like that's my niche. Everyone should have some sort of niche, but that's kind of like my very specific niche is like, if I'm narrating it, it's going to be something that has been passed by so many people because, the money wasn't there,
Yeah.
The author couldn't pay the person the $2,500 that it should cost. And that's a very fair quote. But indie authors, they just don't have that money to play with. So what we do, it's just, for me, part of the fun is just helping other people discover this author that I met and that I found that I like. And hopefully that my enthusiasm for the book and the author kind of comes through in the narration. And that really, that's the gig. That's what I have set forth for myself. And it's just seeing where it goes,
Yeah.
Just like head out on the journey and see where it goes. I mean, what I would love to see is some of these authors, get their break, not like for me to like bask in the royalties, but for like just seeing someone who deserves it, like, get
someone put in the work.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like there's a, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, with that work that happens that these people put out, that's the thing is like, it's shining that light on something that people should be seeing that is great. It's just not known because it might not be one of these big five
Yeah.
publishers. But what it is this is something worth it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And even a lot of them are small communities. And when not a lot of the people in the community even know a book like this or an audiobook exists because there's no like record store to show up to and be like, oh, that's weird. Let me check that out. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times these books and records back in the day, if the cover caught your eye, guess what you was going to read? Guess what you was going to watch? Guess what you were going to check out? But like, that is crazy. Let me see that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing with the movies back in the day. Like the better the cover, the better the movie.
Hell yeah.
It wasn't always the case, but you know what I'm saying?
But at least you kind of had that like, what is this thing? I need to check this out. And if it's bad, it's bad. But hey, you rolled the dice, you took a chance on it, and that's the thing. Like we kind of knew that though. Like we knew it was a crapshoot, especially in the B and C horror movies.
Exactly.
And even sci-fi, even sci-fi. It's like you kind of knew this could be total shit.
Yep.
Or I could have some fun with this. Or it could be total shit, and I will have fun with it too. Yes.
Exactly, because that's the thing is like some movies were made ironically because it's like it's so bad it's good, and those are the ones that have those cult classics nowadays that people understand. Like, oh, let me give that a chance because if that one was this good, how might this one turn out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I mean that's the thing. Then that's I guess the trick right now for any content creator, any author, even filmmaker or whatever. It's like. This next generation here doesn't, they're consuming media on a whole other level than we are used to doing. Cause you and me were of that generation of the browsing and finding stuff. And now it's like, how do people navigate just having everything available at their fingertips? I mean, I'll scroll through Netflix and HBO and stuff forever before I'm like, I have no idea if any of this is good. I mean, there's been like movie posters are bland. Even a new movie poster of an old movie where the old poster was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
They just make it generic. There's not, and I'm hoping things are changing because I just don't know how people find anything anymore. And the same thing with music. I mean, I go straight to the metal. New releases in metal.
Yeah, that's exactly me right there.
But I mean, any other genre, I have no idea. Like punk rock's punk rock, but I mean, the bands that I listen to that I've discovered and just by going to concerts and stuff, I mean, they all had a distinct sound and they were like a mishmash,
Yeah.
But then they all got thrown into alternative. Well, it's like alternative is like everything now, or rock.
Yeah.
So that's. If anybody has any, suggestions on how the fuck I can browse through things and find good shit, let me know because, it's
No, trust me, it's not easy because like I have most of us all have a streaming service for music, just like how we have Netflix, Rhapsody, or it's Napster again, not Rhapsody because it went from Napster to Rhapsody back to Napster, and then Spotify. You got Apple Music, all these things, and the thing is you can highlight one artist and then it'll just give you everything in that artist's arm reach.
Yeah.
But the thing is it never gives you anything new, and when I mean new, something that's like just slightly out of the fingertips of that genre. Where you're like, oh, I would like that, but it just didn't show it to me. And it's the hardest thing to get this new music. And the thing is like, I'm constantly combing the internet for new music. Cause like I said, I'm a big metalhead. I've been to I've been to Rod Stewart concerts all the way to Slipknot. I've seen, like Megadeth, Dragon Force. My music genre is all over the place. I love to see concerts and music. And that's how I've always discovered new music because like the concerts are barely starting to come back.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, openers are going to be the ones coming up to be the next in line.
Those are the ones you really want to check out.
Yeah. You don't just show up for the headliner. You got to show up because how many bands opened up for other bands that turned out to be bigger bands than the bands
Yeah.
that they were opening up for. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Well,
AC/DC,
yeah.
Metallica. There's so many examples of that, and that like Leonard Skinner. There's so
Yeah.
many bands that opened up that started at that point, but if you didn't see them, you missed them. And then, you know, now they're mainstream and you can't yet. And I always like to say, I watched them before they were popular.
Yeah. Well, that happened to the band Good Charlotte. Like Good
Yeah.
Charlotte, and there's a band called MXPX that they were huge fans of.
Yeah.
This punk rock band MXPX, which MXPX has a pretty big following. I was just at a concert and it was sold out. But I remember at the time, like 20 years ago, Good Charlotte was opening up. They were the new kids opening up for MXPX. That you know, that tour was awesome. They were like the first band to play. They were like so grateful for MXPX to let them come out on the road. And then a year later, Good Charlotte's everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Headlining tours, MXPX is like opening.
Yeah.
So it's like within a year, the headliner and the opener switched.
Yep.
And you never know. I mean, I saw Maroon 5 like for free because that was the only way they can get people to come to the show.
Yep.
And they were awesome.
Yeah.
And now
one of the biggest
they're not
bands
my
alive.
bag, but they were amazing live. Holy
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
Like they were, and then, you know, a year later, Maroon 5's everywhere. So
Yep.
yeah,
No,
that's
it's
all
the
you
truth.
kids go to the concerts.
Yep.
Watch the opener.
It's the biggest thing. Like, you know, the last concert I went to, well, no, that wasn't the last concert because the last concert I went to was Korn and Stain. They were touring together, but the one before that was Megadeth, Lamb of God, Trivium, and then it was Hatebreed. And I was like, every one of those bands are like, and that one was my daughter's first concert because she's getting into the music scene to where like she has her defined music opinion.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to slowly throw music at her. And as she steps into the metal world, because, you know, she was, you know, like hip hop and, you know, all Beyonce and all that stuff. And now she's like slipping into this genre of metal. And she's, you know, like I said, she's all into punk music right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything. And I'm just like, I'm feeding her all these things. And now that the concert season's getting ready to hit over here, you know, I'm going to be taking her to all these shows. And it's the greatest thing. Like, our next one coming up is going to be Sublime with, I think it's Sublime and 311 are going to be playing together. And then we're going to see, and then the next concert I got is, after that is the Aftershock Festival. That's over here in the Bay Area where it's literally going to be 4 days of bands and it's going to be freaking insane. Frequency. Last year I got to see Metallica 2 nights in a row for the same price of a regular Metallica ticket.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
Telling you, man, I love it. Well, brother, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You know, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Really breaking it down. We're definitely have to get you back on here again so we can just chop it up about life.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, this audiobook thing is a very small sliver of who I am.
Oh, yeah.
But it's very fun.
Yeah.
But
no, definitely is. I'm enjoying it. Let everyone know where they can find you and where they can find all your books and stuff.
yeah. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Sean SEAN Narrates. You can just go to SeanNarrates.com. All my info will be there. I have all my work is there. You should be able to see everything that I've done. But even if you go into, you know, onto Audible, type in Sean. I mean, it's on the screen. It's right there. Type that into Audible. You'll find everything that I've done. Generally, how it goes is newest stuff is, I think, the best. And as you go down into 2019, if you want to check them out, it's fun, but you can kind of see the trajectory and how I've improved. But that's what we want to do, right? We want to improve with every new project. But yeah, I mean, and if you have if you want recommendations, just hit me up on Twitter. Say, hey, Sean, I like this style of book or whatever. What are the recommendations you've done?
And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not crapping on any other authors that I've worked for. It's just, there's certain things that if I know what you like, I can narrow it down to something that you'll have fun with for sure.
That sounds good. And so, guess the fuck what? This is the Angry Motherfucking Dad. You want to watch my shit? IGTV, YouTube. You want to listen to Spreaker, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, SoundCloud, Deezer, iHeartRadio. My shit is there where you can easily fucking find it. Rate, review, like, subscribe, all that fucking bullshit. I'm also part of the Inner Circle Podcast Network, a group of powerful podcasters out there sharing their shit. That's innercirclepn.com. Shows as Creatures of the Night, The Hood Diner, The Untrained Eye, The Plunge, Failing Hollywood, Simmons and More podcast. Shit happens when you party naked, too hot for the fucking internet. So it has to be on Patreon at Patreon/Team Almy. Make sure you'll check it the fuck out. And we'll see y'all motherfuckers on the next one. Fuck.
Never die. Always living. Always living. Always living. Always living. Always living. Always living.